Country music fans may think they know everything there is to know about Blake Shelton, his towering presence on The Voice, his chart-topping singles, and his fairy tale romance with Gwen Stefani. But now, DeMarcus, a country music icon in his own right and longtime friend of Shelton, is sharing behind-the-scenes stories that shed new light on the laid-back Oklahoman with a sharp wit and even sharper songwriting skills. DeMarcus, best known as one-third of the Grammy-winning trio Rascal Flatts, recently opened up during a candid sit-down on his new podcast, Live from the Backstage, where he turned the spotlight on his friendship with Shelton. What unfolded was a treasure trove of untold anecdotes, private moments, and laugh-out-loud tales that revealed a very different side of Blake Shelton, one that fans haven't seen on stage or screen. The pair's friendship goes back nearly 2 decades, blossoming in the early 2000s when both were up-and-coming names in Nashville. DeMarcus recalled how they first bonded over their shared love of traditional country music and mischievous sense of humor. "We met at some industry mixer, and I'll never forget. Blake walked right up to me with a red Solo cup, cowboy boots, and that mischievous grin of his and said, 'So are you one of the guys that thinks you're too pretty to sing country music?' DeMarcus said, chuckling. From that moment on, we were thick as thieves." Over the years, their friendship has weathered fame, personal struggles, and the chaos of touring life. DeMarcus described Shelton as one of the most loyal friends he's ever had, and one of the funniest. Blake's got this image now of being laid back and goofy, but man, back in the day he was wild. Not reckless, just always up for a good time, DeMarcus said. "We'd go out on Lower Broadway after shows, and before you knew it, Blake was up on the bar singing Conway Twitty while wearing someone's cowboy hat." But it wasn't just partying that cemented their friendship. DeMarcus revealed that Shelton was also there for him during some of the darkest times in his life. When DeMarcus lost his father several years ago, it was Blake who was one of the first to call and offer support. "He didn't just text me or send some flowers. He picked up the phone, called me, and just sat on the line while I cried. That's who he really is," DeMarcus said. "Underneath all the jokes and sarcasm, there's a big ol' heart in there." One of the most surprising stories DeMarcus shared involved Shelton's first brush with what would later become his signature sarcastic charm on The Voice. Long before he joined the reality singing competition, Shelton was known among industry insiders for his quick wit and brutal honesty, traits that could sometimes ruffle feathers. There was this one time at a label event in Nashville, back when he was still climbing the charts, DeMarcus said. Some executive was going on about how Shelton should be more polished to appeal to a broader audience. And Blake just looks at him and says, "Well, I guess if I comb my hair and stop drinking, people will buy more records, huh?" He just never played the game. According to DeMarcus, it was that exact refusal to conform that made Shelton such a compelling figure. Not just as a performer but as a person. Even as his fame skyrocketed with The Voice, Shelton remained grounded in his roots and his relationships. He still drinks the same cheap beer, wears the same worn-in boots, and listens to the same George Jones records he always has, DeMarcus said. Blake never let the spotlight change who he is. When asked about Shelton's marriage to Gwen Stefani, DeMarcus offered a rare, intimate look at their relationship, and how Shelton's closest friends reacted to the unexpected pairing. "I'll be honest, when we all first heard Blake was dating Gwen, we were like, wait, the Gwen Stefani? No way," DeMarcus admitted. "But then we saw them together, and it just made sense. She grounds him in a way that's really beautiful to see. And he adores her." DeMarcus recounted a dinner at his Nashville home where Shelton and Stefani joined for a quiet evening. "They weren't showy or Hollywood at all. Gwen was helping my wife in the kitchen, and Blake was on the porch playing guitar and singing old Merle Haggard songs. It felt like any other night. Except one of the biggest pop stars in the world was chopping onions." Another revelation from the podcast episode was just how seriously Shelton takes his role as a mentor, not only on The Voice, but behind the scenes with younger country artists trying to navigate Nashville. Blake's the guy who'll pull a rookie aside after their first award show and tell them which label execs to avoid and which ones are solid, DeMarcus said. "He's not flashy about it, but he's been a quiet guide for a lot of people." DeMarcus also shared stories of songwriting sessions where Shelton's creativity and raw emotion would surprise even those who knew him best. "There's a depth to Blake people don't always see. I remember this one session where we were trying to write a feel-good party anthem, but Blake kept gravitating toward this sad, heartbreak melody, DeMarcus said. When we asked why, he said, because people need songs to cry to when the party ends. That stuck with me. Despite his humorous public persona, DeMarcus insisted Shelton has always been a serious student of country music, and someone who holds deep respect for the genre's history. He'll sit you down and debate who was more influential, Keith Whitley or Randy Travis, for 2 hours if you let him, DeMarcus said. He's like a walking encyclopedia of honky-tonk wisdom. Fans may know Blake Shelton as the voice behind hits like God Gave Me You and Austin, or as the sharp-tongued coach on NBC's The Voice, but to those closest to him, like DeMarcus, he's so much more, a steadfast friend, a quiet mentor, a country music historian, and a deeply sentimental guy who hides his heart beneath a layer of humor. People think they know Blake because they see him on TV, but the real Blake Shelton is someone who'd give you the shirt off his back, literally, DeMarcus said, recalling a time Shelton gave his own jacket to a fan standing in the cold after a show. He doesn't like to make a big deal about it. He just does the right thing quietly. In wrapping up the interview, DeMarcus shared that he hopes fans take away a new appreciation for the man behind the music and the headlines. Blake's one of the real ones. He's never forgotten where he came from, never tried to be anyone but himself, and never let success go to his head, DeMarcus said. That's rare in this business. And that's why he's still standing, boots scuffed, beer in hand, heart wide open. For country music fans and anyone curious about the man behind the million-watt smile, DeMarcus's candid stories offer a fresh, heartfelt portrait of Blake Shelton that goes beyond the stage, the screen, and the spotlight. It's a reminder that behind every great artist is a great friend who knows where the bodies are buried and is willing to share just enough to make us smile.